THP on YouTube, and our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Okay, so on Wednesday's show, because we were off Thursday and Friday, we were off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. On Wednesday's show, we talked about Donald Trump signaling that he was not going to sign the $900 billion coronavirus bill, but also the $1.4 trillion the $1.4 trillion U.S. spending bill also. Okay, so keep in mind, I broke this down on our Wednesday show, and I think also our Tuesday show, that there were two bills under one vote. Two bills under one vote. Now, you had people putting out misinformation and putting out videos and things like that and posting on social media saying that the $900 billion coronavirus stimulus package had all this foreign aid in it. That was false. They need to go do more research. That's false. The foreign aid was in the $1.4 trillion U.S. spending bill, which is the bill that was going to fund the U.S. government through September 2021. The $900 billion was for coronavirus, $600 in direct payments, $300 a week in unemployment insurance, various aid for vaccines, things like that. That was the $900 billion bill. You had people that don't do research putting this nonsense out here when the information is there. I posted some articles to explain this to people. So there were two bills under one vote. Okay. So Donald Trump has signed both bills today. Now he could have already signed this. He could have signed this before he went to Mar-a-Lago. He could already sign this. And some people suspect he's trying to get back at Republicans because they are acknowledging that Joe Biden is president-elect. Okay. And they're not siding with him and trying to overturn the results of a lawful election. So you have some people who are suspecting this is what he's doing. Okay. But let me just recap. We're going to get into the information. We got articles from Washington Post, Politico.com. I'm somebody that actually studies politics. I'm a historian, but I actually study politics. Okay. So y'all watch my show, this, and we provide you with evidence. All right. Proper documentation ends all conversation. If we go back, if we look at an article from the Washington Post from December 22nd. Okay, I think that was Tuesday. Tuesday, December 22nd, Washington Post. Trump calls on Congress to approve $2,000 stimulus checks, hinting he may not sign relief bill without changes. Trump calls on Congress to approve $2,000 stimulus check, hinting he might not sign relief bill without changes. Okay, so we talked about this before. I posted this on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. You can check it out there. And on page 3 of the article, because we know last week, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, Trump puts out this 4-minute video on Twitter. Okay, this idiotic Twitter rant he puts out on Twitter, and he's complaining about some of the things that are in the bill. But most of what he's talking about regarding foreign aid was not in the $900 billion coronavirus bill. It's in the $1.4 trillion spending bill. Now, his man, the alfalfa of the White House, Steve Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary, because he reminds me of alfalfa from the Little Rascals. Steve Mnuchin and other representatives, they are negotiating with Congress on behalf of the White House. They've been negotiating for months. They didn't just start negotiating this week. They've been negotiating for months. So if your man is negotiating with Congress because you don't know how to negotiate, I mean, keep in mind, there were 3 government shutdowns in the first 2 years of the Trump administration, and Republicans controlled the House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate, and the White House. You don't know how to negotiate. So if your man is negotiating this, why don't you tell him you want a $2,000 stimulus check? They've been negotiating this for months. Why is it you signal that you want a $2,000 stimulus check after the House of Representatives votes, after the U.S. Senate votes, and after they leave Washington, D.C. to go on Christmas break? Then you say, oh, I want a $2,000 stimulus check. Where the hell you been for the past 8 months? So let's look at page 3 of this article from Washington Post from Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020. Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020. Virtually all of the complaints Trump made in the 4-minute video, including foreign aid agreements, aid to the Kennedy Center, fish management language, and more, are not part of the $900 billion COVID relief agreement, but rather included in other separately negotiated parts of the legislation, including $1.4 trillion omnibus appropriation bill and a measure authorizing $9.9 billion in water projects. These bills and many others were packaged together. There was 2 main bills under one vote. All that foreign aid people are talking about, that's in the $1.4 trillion spending bill, not the $900 billion bill, not the $900 billion coronavirus bill. So I just sit back and ask, how's it that you got people putting this stuff out here that don't know this? The information's there, Washington Post. I don't have classified information. How is it Trump is putting out a video that's largely wrong? You don't even understand what your own people are negotiating? You that stupid? Or you just want more attention because you feel your power is slipping away from you day after day after day. You feel your power slipping away from you and you don't know how to handle it. So you want to be the center of attention. So you want to hold up this money. You want to hold it. You want to let unemployment insurance expire for people. You had December 26th. I posted this graphic from MSNBC, and we're coming up here on the break in just a minute. How's everybody doing? We're coming up here on the break in just a minute. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation Future Radio. We have a jam-packed show today. Now, we haven't been on live with you all. We went on Thursday and Friday because of the holidays. So I got a lot of stuff pent up that I want to say. CARES Act provisions set to expire soon. Pandemic unemployment assistance expired December 26th because of this dumbass. Pandemic unemployment assistance expired December 26th. Pandemic unemployment emergency compensation expired December 26th. The eviction moratorium is set to expire December 31st. Now that's part of the $900 billion bill. So that's being extended. And then the medical expense deductions, I think that's being extended as well. Part of the coronavirus bill. Trump could have signed this bill before he went to Mar-a-Lago. It would have caused a lot less stress for people. He's playing golf on taxpayers' dollars. He's playing golf on taxpayers' dollars. Not only that, he's making money because Secret Service has to pay money to rent golf courts to follow his stupid ass around. And they got to pay money to stay at Mar-a-Lago. They don't get it for free. So not only is he screwing America, he's fleecing America at the same time. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation, the Future Radio. Coming up here on a break in just a minute. We got a jam-packed show. We're going to talk about Trump backing down, coming to the realization that he's going to be evicted from the White House come January 20th, 2021. You're not going to be able to hold Americans hostage anymore. You better call 1866, call Tyrone, the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company, so they can help you pack your stuff and get the hell out. Indictment should be coming January 21st, 2021. Talk about making it rain. It should be raining indictments. This is the most corrupt administration I've ever seen in American history. So we'll talk about little bunker boy, Cadet Bone Spurs, backing down. We'll give you an update on funeral arrangements for longtime Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon. We'll talk about also today is the birth date of one John Amos. John Amos, probably best known as James Evans Sr. from the hit show Good Times. Today's his birthday. Have an excerpt of an interview that he did before, talking about why he left Good Times and talking about also getting the role of Kunta Kinte on the TV on the miniseries Roots back in 1977. Kunta Kinte. All right. Brilliant actor, John Amos. We'll talk about that. And then also on December 25th, 1837, you had the Seminole anti-colonial struggle. We'll deal with that as well. This is the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by, everybody. How's everybody doing? Stand by. What's up, everybody? Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. We're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. All right, we got a jam-packed show. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We're going to talk a little bit about Kwanzaa as well, give you some history of Kwanzaa. We'll talk about Kwanzaa throughout the week. We'll talk about the 7 principles of the Nguzo Saba. So we'll talk about that throughout the week. All right. Let's see here. Let me get ready for this next segment here. All right. Now, all right. We're coming up on we'll be back from break in just a minute here. Now, we have a couple new advertisers with the African History Network. Kemeticwear.com. WEAR. Kemeticwear.com is the go-to online source for Kemetic or Egyptian African fashion and lifestyle products. Kemeticwear.com. With a contemporary twist, they're committed to offering unique styles reflecting our African heritage. Visit the website Kemeticwear.com. Let them know you found out about this from the African History Network. Okay. Stand by. How's everybody doing? Maurice, Samuel, happy Kwanzaa. Harry Zakwanzaa, which means happy Kwanzaa in Kiswahili. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, December 27th, 2020, and January 20th can't get here soon enough because Donald Trump has lost his mind. He's probably pardoned more criminals than any other president in recent time. And he still has time to pardon more criminals. So we're going to deal with him signing the coronavirus bill and the $1.4 trillion spending bill, because it was 2 bills. It was 2 bills. All that foreign aid was not in the coronavirus bill. I don't know where the hell people got that stuff from, but whatever. We'll deal with that. We'll talk about John Amos. Today is John Amos' birthday. And then also, December 25th, I think it was December 25th, was the birth date of Mabel King. Now, Mabel King was in The Wiz, but she's probably best known as the mother on What's Happening. You know, with Raj and Rerun and Dwayne. Hey, you know, Dwayne. So we'll talk some about Mabel King as well. All right. But we're going to talk about John Amos also, and deal with talk about some good times, you know, and there was some stereotypical things on Good Times. I've done like deep research, and I know Bernadette Stannis, Thelma Evans from Good Times. I've interviewed her twice. I see her from time to time at different conventions, things like this, different conferences across the country. And there was some stereotypical things like that, but I think they did the best they could with the opposition they were operating against. And when you look at so quickly, we're going to talk about Trump, but let me just say this quickly, right? Good Times was created by Eric Monty and Mike Evans. Eric Monty and Mike Evans. When you watch the credits of Good Times, in every episode, it says created by Eric Monty and Mike Evans. Eric Monty was a writer. He went to Hollywood to write roles and scripts for African Americans that showed us in a positive light. He didn't want to do a bunch of stereotypical things. This is Eric Monty. Eric Monty helped to according to him, he created the character of George Jefferson as well. And then, Eric Monty did a lot in Hollywood. Okay. Mike Evans was the first Lionel on the Jeffersons. So the Jeffersons start out on All in the Family and they become a spinoff. They get their own show. Mike Evans was the first Lionel on the Jeffersons. He was also co-creator of Good Times. So when Good Times launches, okay, he's on the Jeffersons as the first Lionel. Good Times launches, he leaves he leaves the Jeffersons to go work on the set of Good Times full time as a co-creator and writer, things like that. Then when Good Times ends, he goes back to the Jeffersons. In the interim, they bring in another actor named Damon Evans to play the second Lionel. Okay, this is why there were two Lionels on the Jeffersons. I like the first Lionel, Mike Evans, better. But anyway, so the character of Michael Evans on Good Times is named after him, Mike Evans. Okay. And Eric Monty and Mike Evans, they wanted to do these non-stereotypical roles. They wanted to write these non-stereotypical roles, especially Eric Monty. But they kept running into opposition from Norman Lear and the directors and things like this. And one of the things that Eric Monty said is that one of the criticisms of the show that they got from the director and the powers that be was that you could not have a how they put it, you could not have a black sitcom like that. I'm paraphrasing, with a powerful black father figure. Okay, they didn't want John Amos. And actually, this is some background history on this. Okay, the TV show Good Times was a spinoff of Maude. Okay, Maude was a spinoff. B. Arthur as Maude. Then there's Maude, right? Maude was a spinoff of All in the Family. Maude was Edith Bunker's cousin. Maude was Edith Bunker's cousin. Maude gets her own show. On her show, she's married to her fourth husband. Maude is a feminist. You gotta understand this stuff because the 70s were crazy. Maude is a feminist. I'm not against women's rights. Okay. Sometimes it go, white feminism could be something just like totally different. Okay. But I'm for women, regardless of race, having equal rights. I'm not against discriminating against women, so don't misunderstand me. But Maude is on her fourth husband. She's a feminist. Her daughter comes to live with her son. Her daughter has a little son. Her daughter is separated from her husband. And Maude is on her fourth husband. Okay. Show's crazy. But Maude had a maid named Florida Evans. Maud had a maid named Florida Evans, played by Esther Rolle. On Maud, Florida Evans' husband was a fireman. Okay. I think we're buffering right here. On Maud, Florida Evans' husband was a firefighter. He was a fireman. Okay. When Florida Evans gets her show Good Times as a spinoff of Maud, and Maud is a spinoff of All in the Family. When Florida Evans gets her show, the powers that be did not want Florida Evans to have a husband. You got to go research this. The powers that be, the producers of the show, they did not want Florida Evans to have a husband. Esther Rolle demanded that she have a husband on the show. She had a husband on Maud. Now this show, she stars in it, Good Times. Why can't she have a husband here? So what did they do? They gave James Evans a 6th grade education. They gave him an inferior education so he would have inferior jobs. And one of the very first episodes of Good Times is something called Eviction Days, maybe like the 3rd episode. And James was working 2 jobs and still can't come up with about $128 to pay the subsidized rent. When he was on Maud, when Florida was a maid, he was a fireman. He was a firefighter. This is how they screwed us over. This is how they treated us. Okay. All right. So we'll talk about John Amos, because today is John Amos' birthday. We'll talk about that. And I have a couple of excerpts of interviews done with John Amos some years ago. All right. So this is why, see, because I studied the history of all these shows, and you got to check out this book right here, Blacks in American Films and Television by Donald Bogle. This is an encyclopedia. This is an encyclopedia of TV shows and movies that had significant African-American characters in it. It came out in 1988. Okay. So it has all entries in it for Good Times, What's Happening, Beverly Hills Cop, all that stuff. So you can go through, because I've read this book. I got this book back in May 25th, 1995. So I've used this for numerous lectures, sources is numerous lectures, because I actually study media. All right. So when you go research this, you see the racism all throughout, and you see how they try to control us with images, Okay. Now, speaking of control, somebody who's lost control is Donald Trump. Okay. So he signed the $900 billion stimulus bill, and he also signed the $1.4 trillion spending bill. Okay. Because as I said before, and as I said last week, they're 2 different bills. One vote, 2 different bills. Okay. Let's look at the reporting from Washington Post. How's everybody doing? Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Let's look at the reporting from Washington Post here. So Trump signed stimulus and government spending bill into law, averting shutdown. Because if he didn't sign it today, then I think it was today, the government would have gone into a government shutdown. And Congress is scheduled to convene on Monday to vote on the $2,000 stimulus checks. At least they were before he signed it. We'll see if that still happens. So Donald Trump signs the stimulus bill into law late Sunday, releasing $900 billion in stimulus funds into the economy and averting a Tuesday government shutdown. Yeah, the government was going to shut down. A Tuesday government shutdown. After holding the bill up for nearly a week, he suddenly backed down Sunday night because he knew this was getting worse and worse. And I know Senator Lindsey Graham was playing golf with them this weekend and things like that. But people were probably telling them, look, dude, you lost the election. Okay. You holding up this money is going to bring more opposition against you. Now, Trump signed the bill while vacationing in Florida on taxpayer dollars and on a weekend when he had allowed unemployment benefits for 14 million Americans to expire. So let me get this straight. You're on vacation at one of your at your country club, Mar-a-Lago. You're there on taxpayer dollars. You're there living good, eating good. You have Secret Service protection paid for by taxpayer dollars, and they're paying you to stay at Mar-a-Lago as they usually do, and wherever they travel to, they don't get the hotel rooms for free. They have to pay. They have to pay the resort, and they have to pay for the golf course to follow you around. And you allow unemployment benefits for 14 million Americans to expire. Some of these people were dumb enough to vote for you. Trump had demanded changes to the stimulus and spending package for a week, suggesting he would refuse to sign it until these demands were met. On Tuesday, he referred to the bill as a disgrace. This continued defiance caused lawmakers from both parties to panic over the weekend because they had been negotiating for months to get to this point. And both the House and the Senate signed off on this bill. Now, the $3.4 trillion HEROES Act that Democrats in the House of Representatives passed on May 15th, 2020 is much better than this. And the opposition in the U.S. Senate, you have to blame that on the Grim Reaper, Moscow Mitch McConnell. This is one of the reasons why Mitch McConnell had to be defeated in the November 3rd, 2020 election. But people in Kentucky were dumb enough to vote for him again. Some of them have lost their unemployment benefits. But this is why the January 5th, 2021 U.S. Senate races, John Ossoff against David, let me sell my stocks, Perdue, and Reverend Raphael Warnock against Kelly, anti-Black Lives Matter Loeffler. This is why these Senate races are so important, because whichever party wins those two races will control the U.S. Senate. If Republicans are in control of the Senate, they're going to reduce the number of bills that Joe Biden will be able to get passed through the Senate. Now, he'll probably be able to get more passed through the Senate than President Barack Obama when Democrats lost control of the U.S. Senate in the 2014 midterm election, because Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell have known each other for years. They served in the Senate for years. Joe Biden has deep relationships in the Senate. And when you get two old white men together talking, sometimes you can work things out. I mean, it is what it is. But there would still be more opposition, and they would shut down a lot of the more progressive things that the Biden-Harris administration want to do. So Donald Trump demanded changes to the stimulus and spending package for a week, suggesting he will refuse to sign it until these demands were met. Now, on Tuesday, he referred to the bill as a disgrace. This continued defiance caused lawmakers from both parties to panic over the weekend, worried about the implications of a government shutdown during a pandemic. It was unclear what prompted him to change his mind late Sunday, but he was under tremendous pressure from Republicans to acquiesce. Now, in a statement Trump issued after the signing, Trump released a long list of false claims and grievances. Now, this is the same guy told over, 22,000 false and misleading statements. He released a long list of false claims and grievances. He said he would be sending a quote unquote red-lined version of the bill back to Congress, quote, insisting that those funds be removed from the bill, end quote. Once again, he has no clue what the hell he's talking about. You don't have the authority to redline the damn thing. Sign the bill, it goes into law, and keep your ass down there at Mar-a-Lago and don't come back. He can't redline nothing. He don't have that authority. I was hearing this and reading about this. I'm like, well, he's trying to save face. No, you can't redline anything. Donald Trump is the only president for less than a month, and lawmakers, he's president for less than a month, and lawmakers are likely to ignore any such requests. First of all, he can't make no request. He signs the bill, Congress drafts the bill, the president signs the bill. If the president vetoes a bill, Congress has 10 days based upon the U.S. Constitution to veto, to override a presidential veto with the 2/3 majority vote in both the House and the Senate. He can't redline nothing. He's making stuff up. In the same statement, Donald Trump said, quote, "Much more money is coming, and I will never give up my fight for the American people," end quote. Even when you're on the golf course on taxpayer dollars. What fight are you talking about? Yeah, I just really want to know what fight? What fight? They've been negotiating for 8 months. Where the hell have you been? Oh, you were trying to avoid being impeached, so you had your attorneys out there lying on your behalf. Okay, that was in February 2020. Then you've been trying to overturn the results of a lawful election. That's what you've been distracted by, because you've been fighting more to overturn the results of a lawful election than you've been fighting against coronavirus. After Trump signed the bill into law, Democrats attacked him and said his decision to drag the process out for days was harmful to Americans. They're correct. Quote, we'll go to the phone lines in just a minute here. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, hold the line, William. We're coming to you in just a minute. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Quote, "The president's pointless delay in approving the relief legislation cost millions of Americans a week's worth of pandemic-related unemployment assistance that they desperately needed," end quote. Because since the unemployment assistance ended, it lapsed on December 26th, then millions of Americans are going to miss a check. The $300, the $300 in unemployment insurance. Okay, that's going to the $300 in unemployment insurance that a week that's in the $900 billion bill. That's delayed going into effect because it expired on the 26th. Thanks, Donald Trump. So this is what House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal, Democrat from Massachusetts, said. The president's pointless delay in approving the relief legislation caused millions of Americans a week's worth of pandemic-related unemployment assistance that they desperately needed. His stalling only intensified anxiety and hardship for workers and families who are collateral damage in his political games, end quote. Now, the government would have shut down on Tuesday, if Tuesday, December 29th, if Donald Trump had not acted. In addition to containing money to fund government operations, the spending package also includes emergency relief money that finance a new round of stimulus checks, unemployment aid, and small business assistance, among other things. Before Donald Trump signed the bill, Trump hinted Sunday evening that there had been a development. He tweeted that there was, quote, "good news on COVID relief bill, information to follow." Good news on COVID relief bill, information to follow, end quote. What's the good news? If he had good news, don't you think he would have said it by now? Don't you think he would have already said it? He's trying to save face. Congress overwhelmingly passed the bipartisan bill on Monday night, this past Monday, and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin praised it. Now, Steve Mnuchin is negotiating the deal on behalf of the White House and Trump. And from reports that I'm hearing, Steve Mnuchin was in contact with Donald Trump every day, basically every day, about the negotiations. Something congressional leaders in both parties interpreted as a sign that Trump was supportive. Okay, that Treasury Secretary praised, Steve Mnuchin praised the bill. He said, among other things, that the bill should have authorized stimulus checks of $2,000 per person instead of $600 payments. Okay, this is what Trump said. Trump also wanted spending cuts to be included in the package, a concern he hadn't raised until after Congress passed the bill. Not only did he raise it after Congress passed the bill, he raised it after they left Washington, D.C. He waited till the House voted, then the Senate voted, and then they leave Washington, D.C. for Christmas break. Then he starts raising these concerns. Now, before the video was posted, this little 4-minute video that he did on Twitter, just showing how ignorant he is. Before the video was posted, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin had said the stimulus checks could be sent as soon as this coming week. Starting like, what, I don't know, Monday, December 28th, Tuesday, December 29th. The $600 payments had been Steve Mnuchin's idea to begin with. It's unclear whether the roughly week-long delay would push back the issuance of the payments or if they could still go out this week. See, this is how incompetent this administration is. This is one of the articles I posted a couple of days ago. And it's like people were confused and thinking that the foreign aid was in a $900 billion stimulus package. And then when he started talking about the $2,000, it's like, wait a second, hold on. March 8th, 2020, Washington Post, and we'll go to the phone lines in just a second, man. Just hold the line. March 8th, 2020, Washington Post has an article that breaks down how the $600 stimulus check was Steve Mnuchin's idea. Well, that's your Treasury Secretary. That's your guy who's negotiating this deal on your behalf. So Trump is talking about, $600 is not enough, should be $2,000. Why the hell do you tell him that? The $600, that's not what Democrats wanted. They wanted $2,000. The $600 came from your guy, Steve Mnuchin. This is the dumbest ass thing I've ever seen. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But see, this is an example how elections have consequences. Unfortunately, some of the people that voted for Trump stand in food lines right now, trying to figure out how they're going to keep the lights on. Let's go and keep the phone on. Speaking of phones, let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to line 1. William, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from, William.
Hey, William. Hey, Mike. How you doing? I'm calling from Detroit.
From Detroit. All right, my man.
About a week and a half ago, I'm glad that I talked to you, man, because you gave me a lesson about the 25th Constitution.
25th Amendment. 25th Amendment. 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Yeah.
25th. Correct. When I had mentioned about them, about Congress removing Trump, and you asked to do that, and that's when you brought up the 25th Amendment of the Constitution. Glad you did that.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, though. But anyway, go ahead.
Right. Okay, yeah. Now, what you said tonight is the main reason why they should do it. It's called incompetence. Now,
incompetence.
If you look at it, this is not like any other presidency in the past. We are in a very critical state right now. People, business are closing down. People losing jobs. People need financial help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you got to get it out here on government time, playing golf.
Mm-hmm.
Had this been me and you, the FBI probably would have been trying to bring us up on charges of defrauding the government on taxpayer time. But see, here's the thing. Like I said, they still have time to put this asshole out. Excuse my French.
Okay, we can't use that type of language. This is FCC regulated radio, William. We can't use that type of language on the air, man. Go ahead, quickly finish your point. But yeah, I understand. But
that's why I said I'm sorry, man. But they go and Camilla and they said, look, we don't have to tell y'all what to do. Get busy.
Okay.
And they need to put what's his name put out there too. He's worthless too. He ain't doing nothing.
All right. Thanks, William. I understand. I understand your
You know,
frustration. I understand. Let me respond to it. Let me respond to your comment. Okay. All right. Thanks, William. Okay, people, this is the FCC video. Okay, if I don't use that type of language, you know you can't use that type of language. All right. I understand your frustration, William. But you know, how you think I felt when he was elected to the Electoral College? I was on the radio 6-7 days a week, warning our people about this food. I told people what was gonna happen. People ain't want to listen to me. So okay. So here's the thing. Based upon the U.S. Constitution, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris do not get sworn into office, don't become president and vice president until January 20th, 2021. That's based upon U.S. Constitution. Don't matter what Trump does. Even if they implement the 25th Amendment, which his cabinet is not going to do, his cabinet is not going to do that. But even if they did, then Mike Pence would become president. Okay? Next in line after Mike Pence is Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. This is one of the reasons why elections had consequences. This is why the House of Representatives is so important. And who's Speaker of the House? Speaker of the House is one heartbeat away from the presidency. Some people say 2 heartbeats away, but if so, you know, the president, vice president, next in line, Speaker of the House of Representatives. You got to read the U.S. Constitution to understand this stuff. Okay, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, give us a call. 313-778-7600. There was a, let me see, where was the okay, this article right here. Washington Post, December 8th, 2020. See, this is the type of game Trump is running. You can't slick a can of oil. Game recognizes game. You got to run down on somebody that doesn't study this stuff daily. White House proposes dramatically lower unemployment benefit in exchange for $600 stimulus check. This is from December 8th, 2020. This is like almost 3 weeks ago. The proposal is almost certainly a non-starter among Democrats who have insisted on additional federal help for jobless Americans. The Trump, so this is, remember, December 8th, 2020, the Trump administration on Tuesday proposed an economic relief package that would offer far skimpier federal unemployment benefits than what has been proposed by a bipartisan group of lawmakers, adding an element of uncertainty into the fragile stimulus negotiations, according to 2 people familiar with the matter. Instead, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin has proposed that lawmakers approve another stimulus check worth $600 per person and $600 per child. The people familiar with the plan said, speaking on the condition of anonymity to share details of private deliberations. The $600 stimulus check was Steve Mnuchin's idea, Trump's Treasury Secretary. So how is Trump going after the deal's been made and the votes cast and people leave DC? Now he's going to say he wants $2,000. Why in the hell you tell Steve Mnuchin that? The 600 was his idea. Come on, man. You got run that on somebody else. Come on. Read this article from the Washington Post. We posted it on our Facebook fan page because when all this went down, him talking about $2,000, I'm like, hold on. You can't slick a can of oil. I know the game you're playing. No, this was your man's idea. By contrast, Steve Mnuchin has submitted a plan to provide about $40 billion in new funding for federal unemployment benefits. Mnuchin's plan would extend expiring benefits, but does not include any supplementary federal benefit, meaning millions of jobless workers will receive no additional federal help. One person familiar with the plan said, a statement for the Treasury Department from December 8th, 2020, talking about the $600 stimulus check, which was Steve Mnuchin's idea. The plan submitted by Mnuchin is almost certain to be viewed as a non-starter by congressional Democrats who have been adamant that the federal government provide additional income support to laid-off workers. It could also imperil revived talks over stimulus negotiations. Okay, so read the Trump has privately indicated a willingness to send another round of stimulus checks of as much as $2,000, according to one person in direct communication with the president. This is the article from December 8th. Congress in March approved a round of $1,200 stimulus checks with the Treasury that the Treasury Department dispersed to more than 100 million people. A second round of stimulus checks was left out of the $908 billion bipartisan framework unveiled last week. Originally, this bipartisan deal, Republicans were against the stimulus checks. Mnuchin said, okay, we'll do $600 in exchange for dramatically lower unemployment benefit in exchange for $600 stimulus checks, because the weekly federal unemployment benefit was $600 a week that people were getting in addition to what they were getting from the state unemployment benefits. They were getting a $600 a week in federal unemployment benefits. Mnuchin said, we'll reduce that down to $300 a week in exchange for one-time stimulus check of $600. So he thought he was being generous, I guess. Okay, talk about the Grinch that stole Christmas. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. And then also, if you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So since we're here 6 days a week instead of 1 day a week, that definitely helps us to keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. Then you can also support us. You can order our DVD lectures and digital downloads of my lectures at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, we'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. All right, African American business owners, email us at customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Okay. Email us at customer service AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have a couple more slots open. We just brought on 2 new advertisers today. Stand by. We'll be back from commercial break in a couple minutes here. How's everybody doing? Broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. All right, so we have a new advertiser, blackbees.com. How's everybody doing? Have Catrell, Nini. All right, stand by, everybody. On commercial break.
Complications associated with physomesh include chronic pain, infection, adhesions, mesh injuries. Call right now.
Call 1-800-799-2091. Again, that's 1-800-799-2091. You getting the most out of your Medicare plan? Are you sure? People with Medicare are on.
How's everybody doing? God damn it. All right, stand by. How's everybody doing? It's freezing up. Stand by. Okay. We should be back. We should be back. Okay, how's everybody doing? Stand by. Okay, hey, we have a new advertiser, blackbeesproduct.com. Blackbeesproduct.com is a collection of natural, organic personal care products with an appreciation of nature and bees. Blackbeesproducts.com, BEES. Their philosophy is without bees, we have nothing. They are honoring our Nile Valley ancestors who understood the importance of bees. Black Bees created a high quality, natural, organic personal care line that would be affordable to everyone. They hope you try and enjoy Black Bees product line and come back and visit them soon. Visit blackbeesproducts.com, BEES products.com. All right, stand by. We got to get ready for this segment here. Stand by, everybody. How's everybody doing? Who's this, Jan Lisa? Okay, Jan Lisa, how you doing? Thank you. All right, we're back from break in 1 minute, looks like. Stand by. We're on break.
For leaving me alone when I wanted to be alone.
And now, as a grown-up, I'm thankful for being able to take care of you, my dear mom, for taking you to your therapies, for understanding that sometimes you simply want to be alone.
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
WFDF Farmington Hills, Detroit, 910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, December 27th, 2020, and we are live. This year is almost gone. Now, I don't know anybody that said, oh, we don't want the year to end yet. We don't want the year to end yet. This has been a hell of a year. I'm ready to see this year leave. If I could just go to sleep and wake up January 1st, 2021, I would do that, but I had too much work to do. I can't do that. And I have too many shows to broadcast, right? We're 6 nights a week. I can't go to sleep like that. I wish I could. I wish I could be a Black Rip Van Winkle. You remember Rip Van Winkle, right? What did he do? He went to sleep for 20, 40, 60 years, something like that. I wish I could do that for like 6 days, 4 days, whatever. But no, I can't do that. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. So we're talking about Donald Trump backing down, which I was pretty sure he was going to do, and signing the $900 billion coronavirus spending bill, the $900 billion coronavirus bill, and the $1.4 trillion U.S. spending bill, which helps fund the government. And that bill is going to fund the government through September, the $1.4 trillion, September 2021. It was 2 bills under 1 vote. The foreign aid was in the $1.4 trillion spending bill. Wasn't in the $900 billion coronavirus bill. I don't know where people got that from. Well, they probably listened to Trump's dumbass, because Trump was lying, saying that it was in the coronavirus bill. No, it wasn't. That was in the $1.4 trillion spending bill. Either you're lying or you're stupid. One or the other. Either you're lying or you're stupid. Okay. He put out a 4-minute video. Just nonsense. Now, Omarosa Manigault, speaking of nonsense, right? Omarosa was interviewed, and she said that we posted this here. BusinessInsider.com had a article from December 27, 2020, Sunday, December 27, 2020. Former Trump aide Omarosa said that she thinks he's going through, she thinks he's, quote, going through a psychotic episode, end quote, over his election loss. Omarosa, now Omarosa knows Trump. Most people that call into this radio station, even Trump supporters that call in, most of them don't know Trump. They may have seen him at a rally. They may have shaken his hand. They may have bought some paraphernalia from him, or, you know, maybe he signed the Confederate battle flag or something. I don't know. But Omarosa knows Trump. Okay. Omarosa said that she thinks he's going through a psychotic episode over his election loss. In an interview with MSNBC's Alex Witt on Saturday, December 26, former Trump aide Omarosa Manigault Newman said that she thinks he's, quote, going through a psychotic episode over his election loss. She said, I think that he has come to terms with his loss, but his arrogance, his ego will not allow him to accept that he is not going to be president come January. Okay. Well, he'll still be president in January. Come January 20th, 2021, 12 noon. Oh, you out of here. Okay. And he should be calling the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company right now, making an appointment for January 20th, 2021. Okay, they're gonna ask you where you want us to move this, where you want us to go. Okay, let them go down to Mar-a-Lago. Oh, some of the there was articles. Some of the neighbors around Mar-a-Lago don't want Trump to move down there. He can't go to New York. He can't go to Mar-a-Lago. Where can he go? I don't know. Maybe he can move down to Florida somewhere with Ron DeSantis. She also said that she quote feels bad, any quote, for anyone left in the Trump administration because he's going to turn to anyone and blame everyone for his loss except himself. Yeah, he's backing away from Mike Pence. He's throwing Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin under the bus. Next thing you know, he's going to be blaming his children. He's going to be blaming everybody except himself. You know, he can do all that stuff. Just get the hell out. That's all I want you to do. Just leave and shut up. Okay. All right. Check out this article from politico.com. I found it. This is Business Insider. I found it hilarious. Former Trump aide Omarosa said she thinks he's, quote, going through a psychotic episode, end quote, over his election loss. Okay. I just found it very interesting. I found it hilarious, actually. All right. How's everybody doing? Okay, so we have Ear Hustler on YouTube said Russia will take him. Yeah, they probably would. Yeah, they may take him. That'd be maybe one place he could go. Abdu on Facebook said he can go to Brooklyn. Okay, so we have Andrea, Jan Lisa, Erica, Yolanda, Toya said Russia. We have let's see, C Channel said prison. He can go to prison. So a couple of weeks ago I made the joke about the presidential library. I said people were asking, where would the Trump presidential library be? Where would the Trump presidential library be? I said, you should, to save money, takes taxpayer dollars, right? You should make the Trump presidential library a prison library to save time and save travel. He can go to the Trump prison library in the prison where he's housed, in the prison that he's sentenced to, and that could be the Trump prison library. Now, you don't need a lot of books in the Trump prison library, right? You only need 2 books, The Art of the Deal and the Upside Down Bible. Those are only 2 books you need in the Trump prison library because he doesn't read. You just need 2 books, The Art of the Deal, and he didn't even write The Art of the Deal. The Art of the Deal was written by Tony Schwartz, who was Donald Trump's ghostwriter. Go research that. Tony Schwartz has done numerous interviews on MSNBC. Tony Schwartz wrote The Art of the Deal. He was Donald Trump's ghostwriter. Because a lot of people close to Trump thinks he has some type of reading disorder, learning disorder, something like that. But Trump did not write The Art of the Deal. So you only need The Art of the Deal and the Upside Down Bible. Okay. And he probably won't read either one of them because he don't read the Bible. All right. Mr. 2 Corinthians. So he doesn't read the Bible either. So you can save a whole lot of taxpayer dollars. The Trump presidential library could be a prison library, and you just need 2 books and you just save a lot of money. Okay. Mr. 2 Corinthians. Okay, so let's go back to this quickly here. So Trump has signed the stimulus bill, and we look at the reporting also from NBC News. Let's try to flip over this. Politico.com has an article on this also. Showdown averted after Trump signs stimulus package. Shutdown averted after Trump signs stimulus package. We look at the one from NBCnews.com. In reversal, Trump signs spending bill unlocking COVID aid and averting shutdown. Pandemic unemployment benefits expired Sunday after Donald Trump delayed approving the bill, and confusion reigned in Washington. You know, so he's just inflicting cruelty upon people. So Donald Trump backtracked on Sunday and signed a $2.3 trillion package that combines COVID-19 relief with government funding. Once again, this is what I'm saying. These people putting this stuff out here saying that the coronavirus bill had all this foreign aid in it. That's not true. That was in the $1.4 trillion U.S. spending bill. It was two bills under one vote. Donald Trump's last minute decision will restore enhanced unemployment assistance that expired Sunday and avert a shutdown that would have begun on Tuesday. The bill, the result of protracted negotiations between the parties, Republicans and Democrats, and the Trump administration, that Trump himself largely sat out. Because when you research this, and I follow this stuff daily, Trump has largely not been involved in the negotiations. One, because he can't negotiate. The Apprentice, that was reality TV. That wasn't real. That stuff was staged. Okay? He can't negotiate. He largely sat out of the negotiations. The bill includes a $900 billion COVID-19 stimulus package that extends those unemployment benefits, $114 to $357 weekly payments to unemployed gig workers like Uber and Lyft and things like that, and self-employed people whose businesses have stalled. The funds have been a lifeline for 7.3 million Americans out of work because of the coronavirus. Okay, you should call it the Trump virus, but you know. The package also extends the federal moratorium on evictions, which was set to expire on Thursday. Without this extension, millions of people face an immediate housing crisis. The legislation also funds the federal government through September. This is what I'm talking about. This legislation, that's the $1.4 trillion spending bill, funds the federal government through September. Congress passed the bill with strong bipartisan support late Monday, but Trump threw Washington into chaos by subtly raising an objection to the size of a new round of direct payments, which came as news to aides who had negotiated them with Congress. That came. Trump demanded that lawmakers raise the amount to $2,000 and criticize other elements, which Trump reiterated his criticism Saturday, tweeting, quote, "I rather than the measly $600 that is now in the bill," end quote. Well, that $600 came from Steve Mnuchin. Why weren't you advocating for $2,000 these past 8 months? The COVID-19 aid package includes to Americans who earned less than $75,000 in the previous tax year. The amount represented a compromise between Democrats who wanted larger checks and Republicans, many of whom oppose additional direct payments. Let's talk about the Grinch that stole Christmas. These Republicans, many of them are just some heartless, evil people, just totally out of touch with the plight of everyday people. I mean, they make about $171,000 to $174,000 a year, just their salary as a U.S. senator. Okay, I'm not talking about all the perks they get, things like that, but their salary is like about either $171,000 or $174,000 a year. In a statement Sunday announcing that he had signed the relief bill, Trump said, quote, he told Congress that I want far less wasteful spending and more money going to American people in the form of $2,000 checks per adult and $600 per child, end quote, whatever. Donald Trump continued, quote, as president, I am demanding many rescissions under the Impoundment Control Act of 1974, end quote. I will sign the omnibus and COVID package with a strong message that makes clear to Congress that wasteful items need to be removed. I will send back to Congress a red line version, item by item, accompanied by the formal rescission request to Congress, insisting that those funds be removed from the bill, end quote, Trump said. Now, the Impoundment Control Act of 1974. The act allows for a president to request that Congress rescind appropriated funds, but Congress is able to ignore such requests, and such cuts are highly unlikely. But Congress is able to ignore such requests, and such cuts are highly unlikely. The president, the three branches of government: executive branch, the president and the White House; legislative branch, U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Senate; judicial branch, federal courts, federal appellate courts, U.S. Supreme Court. He can't order Congress to do anything. That's a separate branch of government. He can't order them to do anything. He can request, but he can't demand, order them, and sit down with that. The act also, the Impoundment Control Act of 1974, also allows for a president to request that Congress rescind appropriated funds, but Congress is able to ignore such requests, and such cuts are highly unlikely. The 116th Congress concludes on January 3rd, 2021. The new Congress is sworn in on January 3rd, 2021. And President-elect Joe Biden will not go along with the outgoing president's demands. Sit your behind down. Trump's statement also claimed without evidence that, quote, the House and Senate have agreed to focus strongly on the very substantial voter fraud. Dumbass. Now he's talking about voter fraud. Okay, you gonna talk about the guy that had his dead mama vote for you? We talked about this story last week. Is that the voter fraud you talking about? You gonna talk about that? Or you just gonna act like that didn't happen? Okay. Trump also claimed without evidence that quote, the House and the Senate have agreed. The House and the Senate have agreed to focus strongly on the very substantial voter fraud which took place in the November 3rd presidential election. Okay, so you talked to Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi about this? You talked to the Grim Reaper Moscow Mitch McConnell about this? You said the House and the Senate both agree. Well, there's a House Speaker and Senate Majority Leader. She speaks for the House. He speaks for the Senate. You talked to them about this? Who'd you talk to? Jim Jordan of Ohio? Who'd you talk to? So the House is controlled by Democrats who would be unlikely to agree to such a demand. Trump's claim of, quote, very substantial voter fraud, end quote, is baseless. Because in these approximately 60 frivolous lawsuits, most of those, they weren't alleging voter fraud when they got to court and in front of a judge. That's not what they were alleging. Trump's campaign has failed to provide any evidence of fraud in the dozens of lawsuits it has filed in an attempt to overturn the results. See, what we have here is a failure to communicate. I mean, you don't remember Cool Hand Luke. Do millennials know about Cool Hand Luke? Do Generation Z and Y, do they know about Cool Hand Luke? Okay. I don't know. All right. Okay, so let me wrap up with this. Then we're going to go to today's John Amos' birthday. We'll talk some about John Amos. Then we're going to deal with we'll give you an update in funeral arrangements for Benny Napoleon. And also we'll talk about December 25th, 1837, the Seminole anti-colonial struggle. All right. So Former Attorney General, Donald Trump's campaign has failed to provide any evidence of fraud in the dozens of lawsuits it has filed in an attempt to overturn the results of a lawful election. And Biden got like a little more than 7 million more votes than Trump and got 306 electoral college votes. Now, when Trump got 306 electoral college votes in 2016, Trump called that a landslide. Former Attorney General William Barr, who should be brought up on charges also under the new administration, confirmed earlier this month that the Justice Department had uncovered no widespread voter fraud in the election, and states have certified the results, confirming Biden the winner. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who proposed the $600 checks and negotiated the stimulus package with congressional leadership, said Monday in an interview with CNBC that Americans could see the checks quickly pending Trump's signature. Okay, so check this out from NBCnews.com. It's a good article. This is in reversal. Trump signed spending bill unlocking COVID aid and averting shutdown. Okay, and this is from December 27th, 2020 by Liz Johnstone for NBC News. Okay, we're coming up here on the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. Stand by, everybody. Bye. Right.
And this is Atomic Beam USA, another bright idea from Bullhead, the ultra bright, tough grade flashlight that features tactical technology used 40 times more. We're going to put hundreds of feet from this helicopter. Heavy downpour.
Well, commercial break.
Working on a project from
Stand by.
Atomic Beam USA. Just pay a separate fee, and we'll even ship them to you for free.
I have to get ready for this next
Beam
segment.
USA
We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Order now.
Share this broadcast and social media
1-800-638-2619.
platforms.
Get your Atomic Beam USA. Call now or go to atomicbeam.com. So call 1-800-638-2619. Deluxe version available. Order now.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday. It's still Sunday? It is still Sunday. It's Sunday, December 27, 2020, and we're live. Hope everybody's doing well today. Everybody watching on our social media platforms, please share this broadcast. Invite your friends to tune in also. We got to make sure we get this message out. Make sure we get the correct information out. Okay, follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network on Facebook. Turn on notifications so you know when we go live. Follow us on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP, on YouTube as well. And if you have any Kwanzaa events coming up, inbox us on Facebook or email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. And we'll try to post those. If you have some virtual Kwanzaa events and maybe you want me to speak at one or something, let me know. We'll try to make that happen also. Okay. If you have like a virtual Kwanzaa event. All right. So let's continue here. This is, I think, freezing up a little bit. on us. So everybody just stand by. Okay, so today is John Amos's birthday. Okay. And John Amos is probably best known as James Evans Sr. James Evans Sr. on the running show Good Time. He was on the first 3 seasons of Good Times, and he was also Kunta Kinte, an adult, older Kunta Kinte in Roots. All right. The Roots miniseries, 1977, groundbreaking miniseries. So John Amos, I was about to call him James Evans. John Amos turns 81 today. He was born December 27th, 1939. December 27th, 1939. He is known for his role as James Evans Sr. on the CBS television series Good Times and for the 1977 miniseries for which he received an Emmy nomination. Now, if you have seen the original Roots, I'm not talking about Roots reimagined. That came out a few years ago. Okay, whatever. This is all right. But the original Roots, we had never seen anything like that before. It came out in 1977. You're talking about 9 years after Dr. King was assassinated. Was assassinated April 4th, 1968. And Roots aired on broadcast television. It wasn't on cable. It was on broadcast television. And it was, I think, seven nights of it. And we were riveted. We were glued to our television. I remember when it first came out, I was like 5 years old. And I remember watching it with my parents. And then it caused a phenomenon because it caused many of us to want to know our history, to want to research our ancestry. They had the Roots novel. I remember going to like department stores and seeing a display of the Roots novel. Then they had the Roots soundtrack out as well. And it caused many African Americans to have an interest in understanding who we are and what happened to us in our history. Okay. And wanted to know about our history beyond slavery as well. What was going on in Africa before the transatlantic slave trade happened. This is what Roots did. Okay. Now, I'm not saying Roots was perfect. All right. But this is what Roots did. Which was written by Alex Haley, and the miniseries was an adaptation of Alex Haley's novel. Alex Haley sold the rights to Roots, and he was a consultant on the project. One of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, was a historical consultant on the project, like a technical consultant. So he was on the set. I interviewed Dr. J August 20th, 2019, for the 400th year anniversary of August 20th, 1619. And we're going to re-air those. I got to go through, edit I got so many interviews I've done. I have, hundreds and hundreds of hours of video. I have to go through and edit. But Dr. Jeffries talked about how he was on the set of Roots, and he's telling them how some things that they're doing was historically inaccurate. And he said, the people in charge told him, he said, Dr. Jeffries, we know you know what you're talking about, blah, 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 et cetera, but we're going to do it this way. Okay. So in addition to watching Roots, we have to actually study the real history also. Okay. We have to study the real history as well, because what Roots is doing is it is taking elements of the transatlantic slave trade and of the real history, but putting it is part history and part fiction, because it's kind of like a recreation. It's part history, part fiction. And Alex Haley traces ancestry back to Africa. And what he's doing is when you look at Roots, the book, the miniseries was an adaptation of the book. The book is a novel. It's not a history book. This is not a slight against Alex Haley. You have to understand what it is that you're reading. It's a novel. A history book is not a novel. A novel is fiction. Okay? Alex Haley called it fact and fiction. This is not an attack on Alex Haley, but we have to understand what it is that we're seeing. So you have him learning about his ancestry and real life ancestors, and he's telling this story, you know, having studied some African history, he's telling this story of this largely fictitious story, the dialogue. Where's the script come from? Where's the dialogue come from? It's fiction. But you study the time period, you study what happened during that time period, okay? And then the ideas of various people and reading slave narratives, what have you, you put those words into the mouths of the characters that you're narrating, that you're creating, that you're bringing to life. Okay, so it's fiction with a historical background. So we have to understand what it is that we're seeing. This is not an attack on Roots. Okay, we have to go beyond that and study the real history. All right, so John Amos was in Roots also. Okay, he won an Emmy nomination for portraying an adult Kunta Kinte, a Mandinka fighting man. So he was captured in Africa. He was a Mandinka. He was a Mandinka warrior. Okay, and he gets captured and put into slavery. And one of the interviews I saw of Alex Haley back in either the 70s or 80s, Alex Haley said that in doing the research for Roots, he quickly realized that he wasn't just telling the story about his family, but he was telling the story of many African-American families. Okay, many African-American families. All right, so now John Amos's other television works include the Mary Tyler Moore Show. On the Mary Tyler Moore Show, he was a sportscaster named Woody, I think was his name. I remember seeing the Mary Tyler Moore Show from the 70s when I was a little kid. And I remember him on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He had a recurring role as Admiral Percy Fitzwallace on The West Wing, and the role of Washington, D.C. Mayor Ethan Baker in the series The District. Now, John Amos appeared on Broadway and in numerous films in his 4-decade career. I remember there was also like a one-man show that he did. It was like on stage or something. It was a one-man show that he did also. He has been nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award and an NAACP Image Award. On film, he has played numerous supporting roles in movies such as The Beastmaster, Coming to America, and Die Hard 2. So remember Mr. McDowell and Coming to America, he owned a restaurant that was like a copy of McDonald's. It's called McDowell's. All right. And he was Lisa's father. So that was an excellent role also. He was in there with Eddie Murphy. We remember, who can forget John Amos portraying Kansas City Mac, and Let's Do It Again. Kansas City Mac, Let's Do It Again, 1975, with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier. Okay, that's a classic movie. Let's Do It Again. And it had Jimmy J.J. Walker in the movie also. Jimmy J.J. Walker was a boxer, and Bootsy was his name. He was a boxer. He gets hypnotized by Sidney Poitier. He beats the champion. He becomes the champion. Okay. All right. Let's do it again. It's a hilarious movie. The trilogies. These are 3 classic movies in America cinematography. Okay. Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier. Let's Do It Again. A Piece of the Action, and Uptown Saturday Night. Okay, I've got to watch Ma Rainey. I've got to watch that on Netflix because we're going to talk about that this week on one of the shows. We talked about it last week, but I'm going to ask you to go watch it. Then I'm going to go through and do an analysis of the trilogy. Let's Do It Again, A Piece of the Action, and Uptown Saturday Night. Those and Flip Wilson is one of those movies also. Oh my God, Flip Wilson's playing the preacher. Those movies are hilarious. And then you got George Foreman in one of them also. Everybody was in those movies, man. You had Flip Wilson, George Foreman. You had Calvin Lockhart. The ladies love Calvin Lockhart. Yeah, Calvin Lockhart, and Calvin Lockhart was in on the episode of he was in Let's Do It Again. Then he was on an episode of Good Times as Florida Evans' cousin, okay, who was the gambler who bet money on the horses. Okay, so Calvin Lockhart, he was a fantastic actor also. Okay, so John Amos was featured in Disney's The World's Greatest Athlete in 1973 with Tim Conway and Jan Michael Vincent, and also starred as Kansas City Mac and Let's Do It Again. Now, his other film appearances include Vanishing Point in 1971, The President's Plane is Missing 1973, Touched by Love in 1980, The Beastmaster in 1982. Now, those other previous movies, I don't remember none of those. I remember The Beastmaster in 1982. He was also in Conan, one of the Conan movies as well. I remember that. He was in Dance of the Dwarfs in 1983, American Flyers 1985, Coming to America 1988, Lock Up 1989, Two Evil Eyes 1989, Die Hard 2 1990. I remember that. And Ricochet 1991. Okay, Ricochet with Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington, and Ice-T was in that movie also. He appeared in the 1995 film For Better or Worse and played a police officer in Players Club in 1998. I remember him in Players Club also. He played Uncle Virgil in My Baby's Daddy in 2004 and starred as Judd in Dr. Dolittle 3 in 2006. In 2012, John Amos had a role in the movie Medea's Witness Protection as Jake's father. John Amos enrolled at Long Beach City College and graduated from Colorado State University, qualifying as a social worker with a degree in sociology. John Amos also played on the Colorado State Rams football team. You could tell he was athletic from his build, like when he was on Good Times. Yeah, you could tell he was a former football player. So he played on the Colorado State Rams football team. After college, he was a Golden Glove boxing champion. In 1964, John Amos signed as a free agent contract with the American Football League's Denver Broncos. Okay, the American Football League's Denver Broncos. Unable to run the 40-yard dash because of a pulled hamstring, John Amos was released on the second day of training camp. He then played with the Canton Bulldogs and Joliet Explorers of the United Football League. In 1965, he played with the Norfolk Neptunes and Wheeling Ironmen of the Continental Football League in 1966. Of the Continental Football League. In 1966, he played with the Jersey City Jets and Waterbury Orbits of the Atlantic Coast Football League. In 1967, John Amos signed as a free agent contract with the American Football League's Kansas City Chiefs in 1967. Now, John Amos is also a veteran of the 50th Armored Division of the New Jersey National Guard, an honorary Master Chief of the United States Coast Guard. Okay, so this information comes courtesy of Soul TV on Facebook, and we want to wish a happy 81st birthday to John Amos, born December 27th, 1939. So I want to go to this first clip here. This is John Amos explaining why he left Good Times. Let's go to this clip, Jalen.
The differences we had on that show, and we had a number of differences, as evidenced by my early departure from the show, was I felt that with two other younger children, one of whom who aspired to become a Supreme Court justice, that would be Ralph Carter or Michael, and the other, Bernadette Stennis, I think she aspired to become a surgeon. And the differences I had with the producers of the show was that I felt too much emphasis was being put on JJ and his chicken hat and saying dynamite every third page, when just as much emphasis and mileage could have been gotten out of my other two children and the concomitant jokes and humor that could have come out of that. But I wasn't the most diplomatic guy, like I said, in those days, and they got tired of having their lives threatened over jokes. So they said, to tell you what, why don't we kill him off and we'll all get on with our lives. Life's too short. So that taught me a lesson that I wasn't as important as I thought I was to the show or to Norman Lear's plans. And he was not about to have a disruptive factor. That was me, a disruptive factor. I got the call. We were on hiatus when I found that I was no longer to be a part of the show. And Norman's secretary at that time, a very nice young lady by the name of J.D. Joe, called and said, John, Norman would like to speak to you. And I thought that was kind of unusual as we were on hiatus. And so Norman got on the phone. He said, Big John. I said, yes, Norman. He said, I've got some good news and some bad news. What do you want first? I said, hey, it's your dime. You made the call. He said, well, again, we never were out of it, and we stayed in the top 5 for quite a few weeks, if I remember correctly. One way or the other, I couldn't understand why he was calling me to tell me that we were renewed. And then he said, you want the bad news? I said, sure, how bad can it be? He said, you won't be with us. And I said, nothing. I didn't say a word. I let that register for a minute. He said, you're still there? I said, yeah, I'm here, Norman. Why don't you want to say something? He said, what can I say? It's your show. Have a good life. Click. And that was it. I was going to be, recalcitrant to the end. You won't get me to roll over and cry for the job. No, forget you, man. But I didn't curse or anything. I just hung up the phone. And he didn't call me back to see if I had anything else to say. I never heard from him again for months and months and months.
Okay, so that's a clip of John Amos explaining why he left or was fired from Good Times. And see, John Amos had a problem with the stereotypical role of JJ, and he was vocal about it. At the same time, you had Eric Monty. Now, what Eric Monty talked about, Eric Monty is the co-creator of Good Times, is Eric Monty and Mike Evans. As I said earlier in the show, Mike Evans was the first Lionel on the Jeffersons. Okay, that's Mike Evans. Mike Evans passed away a few years ago. He was about 52 years old when he died. He was broke. It's a tragic story. But Eric Monty, the way Eric Monty explains it is that he would write a lot of scripts and ideas that were non-stereotypical. And he said people like Esther Roll, Walona Woods character, Janae Dubois, John Amos, they would love it. But the Norman Lear, the producers, things like that, they didn't like it. They wanted the stereotypical stuff, and they wanted JJ saying dynamite, things like that, right? So Good Times debuted February 8th, 1974. Its last episode aired August 1st, 1979. It was created by Eric Monty and Michael Evans. In the credits, it would say Mike Evans, but his birth name is Michael Evans. So Michael Evans, the youngest son, was named after Michael Evans, the co-creator of Good Times. It was developed by Norman Lear. Cast included Johnny Brown as Mr. Bookman. Also Theodore Wilson, who we talked about a couple weeks ago, whose birthday was a couple weeks ago. Theodore Wilson, who's a fantastic actor who portrays Sweet Daddy. And Theodore Wilson was, before he was on Good Times, he was on That's My Mama with Clifton Davis, okay, playing Clifton Davis' best friend, Earl, who was in the first season, a mailman. Second season, he was a barber. Theodore Wilson was a fantastic actor, and Clifton Davis is a fantastic actor as well. Clifton Davis, after That's My Mama ends, after 2 seasons, he got hooked on drugs. He became a minister, but he comes back and he comes to NBC in a sitcom co-starring with Sherman Hemsley, called Amen. Amen's a fantastic show also. So this half-hour weekly series about the problems and joys of the Evans family was the 1970s first Black sitcom, and has been considered something of a groundbreaker. It was groundbreaking because this was the first African-American family that we got to see every week that had children. Okay, this is the first one we had that had children. With the Jeffersons, Lionel is in college basically when we see them, but you get to see them with younger children. All right, this was the first time we saw this. Clearly, it can be credited with having introduced to national TV a new point of view on Black life. The series offered a portrait of an African-American family living in the slums, a tenement on Chicago's South Side, Cabrini Green, and confronted daily with a set of harsh urban realities. Good Times focused on Florida Evans, who played Esther Rolle, first appeared as the maid on Maude. Her husband James, their 3 children as well. As the father searched for a better job, unemployment was a recurring theme. Discrimination and poverty were also dealt with. Disgruntled and angered by his economic plight, the father, James, announced on one episode, quote, "The president said he was going to bring us all together, but no one told us it was going to be on a bread line." Now, weekly, the show's theme song spoke of temporary layoffs and easy credit ripoffs, keeping your head above the water, making a wave when you can. Temporary layoffs, Good Times. Don't get me to start singing the theme song. Okay, so Good Times managed to touch on some of the language, the rhythms and attitudes of ghetto experience. Seen at one point in some 18 million homes, the series for identification from Blacks and whites alike who saw the struggle for economic and social survival of the Evans family as being part of their own. So these, they became like part of our family. And you had white people watching Good Times also. It's seen in 18 million homes in the 1970s. We didn't have cable back then. It was only 3 channels. It was only 3 networks: NBC, ABC, CBS, 3 major networks. That was it. Okay. Then you have, the channel 20, channel 50. You had the local stations, but you only had 3 major networks. So everybody's watching. So they became part of the family. And I have never, to this date, I have never met an African-American person who has never seen at least one episode of Good Times. They could be the hardest red, black, and green, Black Power person, whatever. I've never seen. Or they could be somebody like Clarence Thomas. I don't know. I've never met anybody African-American who's never seen at least one episode of Good Times. Okay. All right. So, the show always stressed, however, was the theme of America as a land of opportunity. And in some cases, white viewers were permitted to patronize this likable Black family who managed to keep their humor and their sunny smiles despite so many difficulties. Okay, let me back up for a second here. So, seen at one point in some 18 million homes, the series seemed to elicit viewer identification from Blacks and whites alike who saw the struggle for economic and social survival of the Evans family as part of their own. Always stressed, however, was the theme of America as a land of opportunity, America as a land of opportunity. And in some cases, white viewers were permitted to patronize this likable Black family who managed to keep their humor and their sunny smiles despite so many difficulties. Viewed today, the series seems very much a period piece with its shortcomings more than apparent. Too much of its political stand, its determination to confront social problems and ills, strikes us as merely rhetorical, the most biting comments usually coming from the youngest family member Michael, and therefore less threatening, who studiously kept himself abreast of Black history and achievements, and who writes my favorite, quote, my favorite person, end quote, school essays on Malcolm X and Jesse Jackson. Had the older Evans children been blessed with more serious attitudes or insights, the series might have really attained the socially committed goals it wanted us to believe it sought. The series might have really attained the socially committed goals it wanted us to believe it sought. Instead, Thelma was used for the most part as a backdrop for jokes or for showcasing the problems of other family members. Worse was the fact that the oldest Evans child, JJ, seemed barely literate. Okay, so that's a critique by Donald Bogle, who's also known as the godfather of African-American cinema, Black cinema. When you look at it, Michael was the one who was studying Black history, Black empowerment, things like this, not JJ. If JJ had done that, it would have been seen as threatening. If it's Michael, it's something cute, and here's how you know it was. Here's how you know it was. When he was little, Michael was called the militant midget. As he got older, he gets into college. He gets older, he gets into college, right? Notice they stopped calling him militant. Because he's older, he's becoming a man, and he's more threatening now. When he's little, it's cute to call him militant midget. As he gets older and becomes a man, they don't call him militant anymore. I want to go to this. We're going to go to the third clip, Jalen, that I just sent you. We'll go to the third clip. John Amos is talking about working with Jimmy J.J. Walker on the set of Good Times. Let's go to this clip.
It's very hard to work with a gifted comic, and he's a funny man. It's hard in the sense that you're supposed to be, in my character being this stoic, hard-nosed dad. It became very difficult at times to keep from laughing out loud when we'd have scenes together. But he was always so receptive to doing anything, particularly of a physical nature, because he's physically a funny guy. And I have a lot of memories and images of cartoons and comic books. And one of the funniest images I'd ever seen in a comic book or in a cartoon was one character running by a door and an arm reaching out, grabbing that character and snatching him back into the room that he just ran by. So I suggested that to Jim, and his eyes lit up, and he said, yeah. So he backed down the hallway. I got in the room that he had just run out of as JJ, and his arms are all akimbo, and he's like he's got to get out of the room. And his arm reaches out, snatches him by the collar, and snatches him back, and his feet are flying. And we both broke up. I mean, we were both screaming because we knew intuitively how funny it was going to look. And sure enough, when they ran it back, the crew was in tears. They couldn't, because it was just like a cartoon. It was like special effects. It snatched them back into the room. So we got a good laugh out of that. And as I said, Jimmy was such a funny person that when we had a good comedic scene together, it was very often I'd have to look away because you could see me, I'm biting my lip to keep from laughing. And sure, we had creative differences, as all cast members do about every project they're involved in, but nothing that defeated the purpose of the show. It still turned out to be a funny show. And recently, we had our second reunion. And there was a big autograph show in Parsippany, New Jersey, and it was the first time in 40 years that Jimmy, Ralph Carter, who played my youngest son, Michael, Bernadette Stannis was there, and Johnny Brown, who played Bookman or Buffalo Bud, as we gave him the nickname. He wasn't there because of a conflict in his schedule. And the next door neighbor, Walona, could not make it for health reasons. But it was wonderful. After all those years, 40 years of working with that family, to be reunited with them, it was a good feeling.
Okay, so that was John Amos talking about working with Jimmy J.J. Walker. Okay. And that is, these are excerpts from Archive of American Television. Archive of American Television. That clip was John Amos discusses working with Jimmy Walker on Good Times, Emmy TV Legends. Okay. So check those clips out. Archive of American Television. This is John Amos interview. All right. So I want to go to this last clip here. We run out of time. This is John Amos talking about getting the role of Kunta Kinte on the Roots. This is clip 2. Let's go to this clip, Jalen.
I got a call from my agent that said that David Walper's working on a project from an Alex Haley novel called Roots, and they would like you to come in and meet with Mr. Walper and Stan Margulies, the producer, and we'll see what happens. So they sent me a script that the David Walper's company did, and the role that they had me redlined or penciled in to read for him was not the role that I ultimately got. The role was that of the wrestler on the slave ship, the one who incites and follows through on the riot or the rebellion, if you would, between the slaves and the crew. And they called me and said, "Did you read it?" I said, "Yeah, I read it." And I was salivating. They said, "You want to do it?" I said, "Absolutely." Well, I was younger and, I had the physique and the rest of that. So they said, "Yeah, you look like a wrestler. You could do that." And then he called me back the second day and said, "There's another part they want you to read for." And I said, "What part is that?" Because now I'm getting disappointed thinking it's going to be, a one-liner or something. And he told me the role, and the role ultimately went to Louis Gossett Jr., the role of Fiddler. And I said, "Oh man, what a plum role that is. You get the age, and it's a sympathetic, empathetic character. You play the fiddle, and oh man, I'm disappointed." And then I realized while I was reading for these two roles, every once in a while they would allude to the character of Kunta Kinte. And by the time they give me the script with the Kunta Kinte character more fleshed out, all I could say was, "Man, whoever gets this, wow, once in a lifetime role." And they called me about the third or fourth day and said, "David Walper would like to see you for the role of Kunta Kinte." And I almost fainted. I couldn't believe it. It was like I'd hit the lottery. And I didn't mean I got the role. It just meant that I had a chance. I was going to be in the room to compete for it. But I was so stoked up. And I went in and I met David Walper and Stan Margulies and one or two of the other executive producers. And I decided that I was going to use an accent that I had cultivated on my numerous trips to Africa. I had gone to Africa on my own and to do research on my own family tree, as well as to absorb the culture of the continent that I had come from indirectly. And I'd made several trips to Africa. In fact, I lived in Liberia for months at a time and absorbed the culture, the pidgin English. And that was a decision that I had made, that I would only address the company in the accent of the character that I had cultivated in Liberia, West Africa. And when I read for the part of Kunta Kinte, Stan Margulies, I believe it was correct, or Mark Chomsky, the director, said, "Well, this accent that you're using, we're not sure if that's a correct one, because we had Maya Angelou come in, she read in what she thought was the correct accent, and she was married to an African gentleman or had extensive travels in Africa, so her assessment was viable."
All right, we're out of time here. We're going to continue this discussion on our social media platforms. So if you're watching us on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We're going to continue broadcasting. We're out of time here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation WFDF. If you'd like to stop with information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Stay tuned for Pastor Mo. We'll talk to you Monday night. Peace. All right, stand by, everybody. Let me disconnect this call from the radio station. Okay. We're going to continue here for a few more minutes, and we'll talk a little bit about the Seminole War, December 25th, 1871, I think it was. 1837, I meant. 1837, yep. Seminole War. Okay. Just a second here. Let me find this. Let me find this clip here. We'll continue with the rest of this. How's everybody doing? Be sure to follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, on Facebook, and Michael Imhotep on YouTube. So we're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, 12 midnight to Eastern Standard Time, the African History Network show. And we're here Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Sundays we do 2 hours. Sometimes we run over. This is one of those times. So we'll be here for a little while longer. Let me find the rest of this clip here. Just a second here. I sent it. Let's pull this up. This is John Amos talking about working on the roots, getting the role on the roots. So let's cue this back up. Okay, that's the wrong one. Just a second here. We got to do there's a second clip. All right, just a second while we get this going here. Then wasn't sure if we had enough time to get the full clip in before we lost 9:10 a.m. before we stopped broadcasting on the radio. Okay, let's go back to this clip here.
Sure if that's the correct one, because and when I read for the part of Kunta Kinte, Stan Margulies, I believe it was correct, or Marv Chomsky, the director, said, well, this accent that you're using, we're not sure if that's the correct one, because we had Maya Angelou come in, she read in what she thought was the correct accent, and she was married to an African gentleman or had extensive travels in Africa, so her assessment was viable. And then one of the other actors or actresses that had read for one of the roles said that they felt that they had a handle on it. Well, I knew I had the handle on it, not because of ego, but one time when I was living in Liberia, I was out drinking with some friends of mine, local guys, and we went to one of the local shabines, which is just a bar in somebody's house where they make homemade brew or whatever. And my friend, Charles Mitchell, an indigenous Liberian, said to me, John, I said, what, Charles? He had his back. I had my back to the crowd or to the rest of the patrons. Charles is facing me, looks over my shoulder, and I see a look of alarm on his face. I said, Charles, what's wrong? He said, oh, John, one bad guy coming for us. I said, what? He said, yeah, John, he's a bad guy. What? I didn't have a machete. I turned around about that time, I want to see I want to see totally what is going on. And there's a guy gets up from a table, and sure enough, he's got his machete out, and he's with 2 or 3 of his friends, and they've got their machetes or clubs. This was not Toots Shores, okay? This was a bad place to be. And the guy looked at me and said, I know you. I told you when you were in Burma Hill Diamond Mine and you mistreated me, that I come in for your head one day and not a day. Evidently, he totally mistook me for a security guard that had mistreated him when he was incarcerated at Bowman Hill Diamond Mine as a worker prisoner. And this guy had mistreated him so bad that this guy had made a vow he was going to cut his head off when he saw him. So the guy looks at me and says, "Nah, coming for your head." I said, "Whoa, wait 1 minute, buddy." Dropped the accent, pulled out my wallet, pulled out my California. I said, "This is me. I'm just a player." And he goes, "What? He's not the guy. He's a player. Bring beer. Bring beer. Everybody." I said, "Yeah, bring a lot of beer. Bring everybody have a beer, man, please." So the question of whether or not I had the right accent wasn't up for discussion as far as I was. It almost got me killed. So, if an indigenous Liberian thinks I'm from Liberia enough to cut my head off, please, man, don't have somebody from Hollywood say, "I don't think that's the right one." Forget you, buddy. When they saw that I was adamant about retaining that accent, I didn't share with them how I had arrived at that accent and the things that precipitated my decision to stay with it. But they accepted the fact that I was going to use that accent. They had even had an African linguist from UCLA come in who was supposed to be an expert on different accents, and he gave me a green light. So I guess that was the ultimate litmus test. I stayed with the accent. I got the role.
All right, so that's a funny story on how he got the role of Kunta Kinte on Roots and developing an accent also. All right, that's John Amos once again. Happy birthday. Birthday to John Amos, born December 27th, 1930. It was 1937, I think it was. He turns 81 today. Okay. So I guess it'd be 1939. All right. So how's everybody doing? We're going to keep going here. And let me see something here. Okay. Now, on page 276 of Blacks in American Films and Television by Donald Bogle and an Illustrated Encyclopedia, page 276. He talks about, he says, how's everybody doing watching on Facebook? Okay. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. It really means a lot. So, okay. And I want to post something here on Facebook also. Donald Bogle talks about Esther Rolle. Esther Rolle was quoted in Ebony magazine. Okay. And she said, in Ebony magazine, he said, perhaps the most telling comments on JJ were made by Esther Rolle to Ebony. And he's talking about JJ's antics. He said repeatedly, the audience was reminded that JJ was an artist, a supposedly talented young Black man trying to find his way. But Jimmy JJ Walker failed to communicate any type of artistic intensity or perceptivity, let alone something as fundamental as intelligence. So JJ played a very dumbed down role. Okay. This is how it was written. This is what the white people wanted. Let's just be honest. This is what the white people wanted. That's not what Eric Monti wanted. That's not what Michael Evans wanted. Mike Evans, the co-creator. That's not what they wanted. The Norman Lears, things like this, the white people on the in control. This is what they wanted. Okay. So he talks about what he became best known for was his trademark expression dynamite, and his antics, which were throwbacks to Stepin Fetchit and Willie Best, but without any of the former's nihilistic poise or the latter's slyly acute sense of timing. Perhaps the most telling comments on JJ were made by Esther Rolle to Ebony magazine. Esther Rolle said, "I resent the imagery that says to Black kids that you can make it by standing on the corner saying dynamite. He's 18 years old and he doesn't work. He can't read or write. He doesn't think. The show didn't start out to be that. The show did not start out to be that. Little by little, they have made JJ more stupid and enlarged the role. This is Esther Roll talking, Florida Evans. This is Esther Roll talking. Negative images have been quietly slipped in on us through the character of the oldest child. So check that out. And you can probably find excerpts of that interview on the internet. Blacks in American Films and Television, an illustrated encyclopedia by Donald Bogle. Look at pages 275 and 276 on Good Times. All right. Okay, so let's continue here. Then African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. And we have some new advertisers, a few new advertisers coming up this week as well. I'm working on commercials. We'll let you know how you can advertise your business with the African History Network. Okay, let's see here. Okay, yeah, so post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. All right, I want to go to we'll go to this last story here dealing with the state and history. Well, dealing with December 25th and the Seminole Indians. We'll talk about Kwanzaa Monday night. We'll talk about Kwanzaa Monday. We'll do it briefly tonight, but we'll talk about Kwanzaa Monday. We'll talk about today's principle, but we'll get some background information on Kwanzaa on Monday because we're out of time here. Funeral arrangements for longtime Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon were released. We talked about it a couple of shows ago. I think it was Wednesday. We talked about it. Click on Detroit.com, Channel 4 here in Detroit. They have an article, funeral arrangements announced for longtime Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon. So there will be a public viewing on Monday, December 28th. There will be a public viewing on Monday, December 28th at Swanson Funeral Home from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Family members announced this on Facebook last Sunday. Swanson Funeral Home is located at 806 East Grand Boulevard in Detroit. 806 East Grand Boulevard in Detroit. A live stream of the event will be available on the Swanson Funeral Home website. Then on Tuesday, December 29th, the public viewing will continue from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Greater Grace Temple, located at 2500 West 7 Mile Road in Detroit. 2500 West 7 Mile Road in Detroit. Benny Napoleon will be officially laid to rest in a private funeral. Okay, check this out, Detroit.com, Channel 4, click on Detroit.com. Funeral arrangements announced for longtime Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon, and probably also on WXYZ Channel 7. You can probably find it there as well. The local news outlets here in Detroit, they have the information. All right. Let's go to let's see here. Let's go to we'll talk a little bit about Kwanzaa quickly. Then I want to get to this last story dealing with the Seminole anti-colonial struggle, the Seminole Wars, December 25th, 1837. So I've been posting information about Kwanzaa. So have the and It's in digital download format or DVD. It's from Kwanzaa to Wakanda, from Kwanzaa to Wakanda. And it deals with how Kwanzaa and the film Black Panther both reconnect African Americans to African culture and history. Let me pull this up here. Okay. So we're going to post this link here. All right. Yeah, we'll post this right here. So it's on sale now. I think the digital download is $8 and the DVD is $10. And there's 4 presentations in both the digital download as well as the DVD. And these are presentations I've done on Kwanzaa the past few years. I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so I posted some information about Kwanzaa today. Second principle of Kwanzaa, which is Kujichagulia, self-determination. So Harry's Kwanzaa, which means happy Kwanzaa. Second principle is Kujichagulia, which means self-determination, Kiswahili. And self-determination means to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. The main greeting in Kwanzaa is, the first day is Umoja, which means unity. Second day, Kujichagulia. Third day, Ujima. But Kwanzaa is an African American and Pan-African cultural holiday. It's not a religious holiday. It's a cultural holiday. You can have any religion or no religion and still practice Kwanzaa. Okay. Kwanzaa celebrates family, community, and culture. Family, community, and culture. It's celebrated from December 26th through January the 1st. Its origins are in the first harvest celebrations, or the first fruit harvest celebrations of Africa, which it takes its name. The name Kwanzaa is derived from the phrase Matunda ya Kwanzaa, which means first fruits in Kiswahili. Kiswahili is a Pan-African language, which is the most widely spoken African language. Kwanzaa is celebrated by as many as 20 million people around the world. Read the article that I wrote, and we posted the link here. Kwanzaa reconnects African Americans to African culture for self-empowerment. Kwanzaa reconnects African Americans to African culture for self-empowerment. If you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, click on read articles by Michael Imhotep, and you can read the article that I wrote. Now, power is the ability to define and shape reality and have other people accept your definition of reality as if it were their own. When we look at the origins of Kwanzaa, and I read Dr. Maulana Karenga's book on Kwanzaa. He put out a book back in like 1988 on the history of Kwanzaa, and I read that book. Kwanzaa is based upon traditional first fruit harvest celebrations coming out of Africa. The first fruit celebrations are recorded in African history as far back as ancient Kemet, or Egypt, and Nubia, Ta-Nehesi, and appear in ancient and modern times in other classical African civilizations, such as among the Ashanti of Ghana and the Yoruba of Nigeria. These celebrations are also found in ancient and modern times among societies as large as empires like the Zulu or Amazulu kingdoms in South Africa and Swaziland, or smaller societies and groups like the Matabele, Thonga, and Levedu, all of southeastern Africa. Kwanzaa builds on the 5 fundamental activities of continental African first fruit celebrations. The 5 fundamental activities of continental African first fruit celebrations: ingathering, reverence, commemoration, recommitment, and celebration. Ingathering, reverence, commemoration, recommitment, and celebration. All right, so when you check out my article, I'll go deeper into this. We'll talk about this some more on tomorrow's show. Let's quickly get to this information here. dealing with Seminoles, and we're just going to deal with this a little bit. We'll deal with this some more Monday because we've already done over 2 hours. The Zen Education Project has a good piece dealing with December 25th, 1837. December 25th, 1837. Seminole anti-colonial struggle. Seminole anti-colonial struggle. Okay, and this deals with the Seminole Indians and Black Indians and John Horse. All right. On Christmas Day in 1837, the Africans and Native Americans who formed Florida's Seminole Nation defeated a vastly superior U.S. invading army bent on cracking this early Rainbow Coalition and returning the Africans to slavery. Though it reads like a Hollywood thriller, the amazing story has yet to capture the public attention. A lot of people don't know this history. It is absent from most school textbooks, social studies courses, Hollywood movies, etc. Okay, this alliance between Africans and Native Americans, the Seminole Nation. All right. And, you know, and you had Black Indians. And as we talked about before, like when you read books like The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence by Dr. David Imhotep, you're going to have, you know, African people were here in this land before Europeans got here. Okay. And you read The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence by Dr. David Imhotep. African people were in this land before Europeans got here, but we were here before Native Americans got here also. We've been in this land for at least 51,700 years. But what he talks about, one of the things he talks about is how when European settlers come here, a lot of the different groups of African people get reclassified as Native American, okay, or Indians. So this is one of the things that happens to our populations. They get reclassified. Some of them get reclassified. So this daring Seminole story begins around the time of the American Revolution, which is 1775 to 1783, when 55 founding fathers broke free of British colonialism and wrote the immortal Declaration of Independence. About the same time, Seminoles suffering ethnic persecution under Creek Indian rule in Alabama and Georgia fled south to seek independence. Africans who had earlier escaped bondage and became among the first explorers welcomed them to Florida. Africans who had earlier escaped bondage and became among its first explorers welcomed these Native Americans, these Seminoles, to Florida. The Africans did more than offer Seminole families. They did more than offer Seminole Indians families a haven. They did more than offer Seminole Indian families a haven. The Africans taught them methods of rice cultivation they had learned in Senegambia and Sierra Leone in Africa, West Africa. Then the two peoples of color forged a prosperous multicultural nation and a military alliance ready to withstand the European invaders and slave catchers. The Seminoles were led by such skilled military figures and diplomats as Osceola, Wildcat, and John Horse. Now, as I talked about, I think it was one of the shows last week, when African people come to this land, even when we're brought here and made slaves, there's an intellectual capital that we brought with us. We were physicians, scientists, scholars. We worked with agriculture. We worked with metallurgy, blacksmiths, ironsmiths, things like this. There's an intellectual capital we brought with us. Those different methods of doing things, those different methods of production and technology, we're bringing that here. So the myth that's told about the transatlantic slave trade is these Africans were brought here, and then Europeans taught them how to plant crops, taught them how to pick cotton. They were taught how to do all this stuff. There may be some things that they were taught, but we're already bringing a vast knowledge of various things with us. And we're using that here. Cooking food, seasoning food, planting crops, all different types of things like that. So this alliance between these Africans and Seminole Indians drove U.S. slaveholders to sputtering fury. They saw Seminole Indian unity, prosperity, and guns as a lethal threat to their plantation system, because you had African slaves who were run away from the plantations in surrounding states, and they're going to run into Florida, okay, to go live with the Seminoles and these Africans. They saw Seminole unity, prosperity, and guns as a lethal threat to their plantation system. Here was a beacon that enticed escapees and offered them a military base of operations. Further, these peaceful communities destroyed the slaveholder myth that Africans required white control. Okay, because one of the myths that really is perpetuated by the South a lot is that you hear about this peculiar system when you deal with slavery, and the South is pushing this ideology that slavery is good for everybody. Slavery is good for the Africans because they can't survive on their own. So the white people, the slave masters taking care of them, and they work for the slave master, provide crops, and they can and in exchange, the slave master takes care of them, provides for them, provides food and clothing and shelter for them, looks after them. This is the myth that the South was perpetuating, because the South is arguing as the abolitionist movement intensifies, going into the 1830s, 1840s, 1850s. The South is saying, wait, no, this is a good system. We take care of these people. These people are almost like family to us. And then when you look at in 1915 in the movie The Birth of a Nation, this is what's being perpetuated in the movie The Birth of a Nation. Because The Birth of a Nation, which debuted February 8th, 1915, it takes place during slavery, Civil War, and Reconstruction era. And it's showing the happy slaves on the plantation dancing and singing for the master. Dr. Cameron in Piedmont, I think it was in Piedmont, South Carolina, it took place. And they're on the plantation and they're just laughing and singing and dancing for the master. And they're talking about how in the storyline, they're talking about how Dr. Cameron was a benevolent slave master, and how the slaves were almost like family members to he and his family. Okay. And then the Civil War comes, and these Yankees come and disrupt their way of life, and all hell breaks loose. Everything was all right till the Civil War started, and the Yankees came, and they're trying to impose the federal government on the states, and the states are trying to maintain slavery, and their way of life is being threatened, and all this stuff. All this nonsense. So let's continue here. So these armed African and Indian communities lived a stone's throw from the southern U.S. border. The U.S. Constitution of 1789 embraced slavery and protected slaveholder interests. From George Washington to the Civil War, slave owners sat in the White House 2/3 of the time. Were 2/3 of speakers of the House of Representatives, 2/3 of presidents of the U.S. Senate, and 20 of 35 U.S. Supreme Court justices. With the support of their northern trading partners, merchants and businessmen, and the politicians who served them, slaveholders were able to direct U.S. foreign policy. Okay, that is true. Now, it's also important to understand that at the Philadelphia Convention in 1787, by 1787, 5 states had already abolished slavery, starting with Vermont, July 2nd, 1777. By 1787, at the Philadelphia Convention, when they are drafting and debating the U.S. Constitution, 5 states have already abolished slavery. Some abolished it in total. Others abolished the importation of Africans as slaves, which was the international transatlantic slave trade. But they kept slavery inside the state taking place. Okay. And you're going to have Massachusetts abolish it. You're going to have Connecticut. You have Pennsylvania, things like this. But it starts with Connecticut in 1777. So the way a lot of people think this history evolved and the way they think this happened, this whole history happened, is not exactly how it happened. It wasn't like slavery ended in all states in 1865 with the 13th Amendment or with the Civil War and Civil War ending. Some states had already abolished slavery before the Philadelphia Convention in 1787. Now, slaveholders and their allies kept a drumbeat of U.S. military intervention in Florida. And in 1811, President James Madison authorized covert U.S. invasions by slave catching posses called patriots with a capital P. Now, this is at this point, Florida is not U.S. territory yet. Florida becomes U.S. territory about 1821. At this point, Florida is Spanish territory and it's free territory. There's no slavery is not taking place there. It's free territory. Okay. President James Madison authorized covert U.S. invasions by covert U.S. invasions by slave catching posses called patriots. Then in 1816, General Andrew Jackson ordered General Gaines to attack the Seminole Alliance and, quote, restore the stolen Negroes to their rightful owners. Restore the stolen Negroes to their rightful owners. Okay. A majority of U.S. assault. A major U.S. assault began on hundreds of people living in what was known as Fort Negro on the Apalachicola River. As U.S. Army Colonel Clinch sailed down the river, he wrote, quote, "The American Negroes had principally settled along the river, and a number of them had left their fields and gone over to the Seminoles on hearing of our approach. Their cornfields extended nearly 50 miles up the river, and their numbers were daily increasing," end quote. When a heated U.S. cannonball hit Fort Negro's ammunition dump, the explosion killed most of its more than 300 defenders. The survivors were marched back to slavery. Then in 1818, General Jackson invaded and claimed Florida. The United States purchased Florida for $5 million from Spain in 1819. And sent a U.S. Army of occupation for pacification. But suddenly the U.S. faced the largest slave revolt in its history. Its busiest underground railroad station and the strongest African Indian alliance in North America. So what we know is the Underground Railroad, that starts in the early 1830s, right around 1831. That's going from the South up north and then going into Canada also. But before that, you had Africans running away going into Florida. You also had another Underground Railroad, a Southern Underground Railroad going into Mexico, because Mexico is free territory also after somewhere around 1828 or something like that. And you're going to have Africans running into Mexico. It's going to be somewhere between 5,000 to 10,000 over the course of years are going to go into Mexico with the help of abolitionists. Oftentimes with the help of abolitionists. I did a broadcast a year or two ago. I need to do one again dealing with that Southern Underground Railroad going into Mexico. So the multicultural Seminole forces carefully moved families out of harm's way from 1816 to 1858 as they resisted the U.S. through three Seminole Wars. Today, many Seminoles still claim they never surrendered. All right, so we'll talk about this some more Monday and Tuesday on our show. We're out of time here. This is from Zen Education Project, ZINN, Zen Education Project, December 25th, 1837, Seminole Anti-Colonial Struggle. This is by William Katz, K-A-T-Z. Seminole Anti-Colonial Struggle. December 25th, 1837, this took place, okay? Hey, if you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So, especially being that we're here 6 days a week instead of 1 day a week, that really helps us to keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, keep doing research like this, pulling all this together. All right. I forgot to tell you about we did a few posts about the 3-hour lecture that I've done, Ancient Kemet, the Winter Solstice, and the History of Christmas. Ancient Kemet, the Winter Solstice, and the History of Christmas. That's a 3-hour presentation that deals with the whole history of Christmas. We have that on DVD and digital download. It's a 3-hour presentation. I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation. We get into hundreds of years of history, or thousands of years of history, really. And we deal with the origins, the pre-Christian origins of Christmas, the pre-Christian origins of Christmas. Why is Christmas celebrated on December 25th? We deal with the winter solstice, astronomy, and the sun entering its southernmost point position on right around December 21st, and from December 22nd, 23rd, 24th, the sun appears not to move. On December 25th, the sun moves 1 degree northward. In ancient times, this was known as the birth date of the sun, not the S-O-N, but the S-U-N. Okay. So we deal with all that history and astronomy and tying into Asar, Aset, and Heru, who the Greeks called Osiris, Isis, and Horus. So that's at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We just posted the link there. Also, Ancient Kemet, the Winter Solstice, and the History of Christmas is a 3-hour presentation I've done. And we deal with the pre-Christian origins of Christmas. And we look at the ancient winter festivals celebrated among Europeans, like the Roman festival of Saturnalia, the festival of Mithra, celebrated by the Persians, the festival of Yule, Y-U-L-E, like Yule Tide, the festival of Yule. Most of these festivals took place around the winter solstice, around December 21st, or the vernal equinox, which marks the first day of spring, which is March 21st. We'll deal with the influence from various cultures, mythology, religion, literature, and astronomy. Okay, so we deal with all that. We deal with the origins of Santa Claus, coming from Sinterklaas. Sinterklaas is Dutch, which means Saint Nicholas. We deal with Zwarte Piet, Black Pete, also, who was a Moor in the mythology and is conquered by Sinterklaas, in many versions of the story, becomes a slave of Sinterklaas. And this was the helper of Sinterklaas or Saint Nicholas or Father Christmas. And if the children were bad, Black Pete would leave coal in their stockings. Okay, they have been bad all year. Black Pete would leave coal in their stockings. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. Thanks for tuning in.